Hello, this is Constance Oliver, and I'd like to share with you a little bit about open educational resources and online course design. This presentation is created under fair use guidelines and may not be used for any other purposes other than for which it was originally created. Let's start by talking about copyright and fair use. First, you need to realize that if you are using materials that belongs to someone else and you don't have their permission and you're not following fair use, then you are breaking the law. In order to understand that, let's break down fair use a little more. What is fair use? There is not one determining factor to decide if you are using something fairly. Instead, there's 4 categories or 4 questions that you should ask. First, are you using the material for profit or commercial use? Or are you using it for nonprofit, non-commercial, or educational use? It is more likely that it falls under the category of fair use if it's something for nonprofit or non-commercial use. The second question to consider is this work copyrighted, or is it in the public domain? If the work has a copyright, it may be more difficult to have fair use. But if it's a public domain item, it probably could qualify for fair use. The next thing to consider is how much of the work do you intend to use? It's probably not fair use if you plan to copy an entire novel to distribute to your class. However, if you need to copy 1 page out of a 200-page book, it's more likely to be fair use. The final question is thinking about what effect your use is going to have on that product or that market. For example, if you're copying an entire book for a class, that means they're not going to buy the book, and that can have an economic effect on the product or the market. Again, it's not just one of these questions, but all of them together that can constitute fair use. We also need to be able to define intellectual property. We know that we can have physical property like a car or a house, but we can also have intellectual property, which means that your ideas and the things you create can also belong to you. The key word there is can, because they can also belong to other people, perhaps even the institution that you work for. For example, I have created courses for higher education institutes as a contract employee, and the course that I create belongs to that school, not to me. They hired me and paid me to create that content. I do not own that content. However, there are a lot of steps that you can take to protect your work and copyright your work if you want to. The next idea to cover is open education resources. This is something that was started by the UNESCO institution to come up with educational material to provide to learners in developing countries. We all know how much textbooks can cost. What UNESCO wanted to do is to give educational materials and resources, ideas and books to people who may not be able to afford to buy them and instead share them online. One of the key things to know is that not only are these ideas free, but they are encouraged to be shared among learners. It can be something as simple as a photo, or it can be an entire class that you can find for free online. Let's look at some examples. One website I use frequently in my courses is the Purdue OWL, and OWL stands for Online Writing Lab. This has great information about grammar, citations, all sorts of things. We can see that their website says that they provide a free service. Students, members of the community, and users worldwide will find information. Teachers and trainers can use this material for in-class and out-of-class instruction. So they are sharing this material. This can be something that I can use without worry. Another resource is the Indiana University Library. This is something that I'm going to be using in the course I'm currently designing. It's a tutorial about plagiarism, and on their website, Indiana University states that anyone outside of their institution is welcome to use this tutorial for any nonprofit educational purpose. They have specifically shared their guidelines. We don't need to ask or pay for this use. we are allowed to use it. They tell us we are allowed to use it. If you're looking for more open educational resources, here are a few great examples. One of them is the Smithsonian Learning Lab. Of course, we're probably familiar with the name Smithsonian. This is something they've specifically created for teachers and learners that has articles and videos and links and resources and lesson plans about a variety of topics. It's a great one to check out. One of my favorite ones is called Project Gutenberg, and it has full text books online, usually books where the copyright has expired. So there's a lot of older books, and they've been digitized and able to read online. So a great source for looking for maybe fiction work or older classic literature. And finally, another great source is OpenLearn from the Open University. This is a great source because it has complete courses that you can take. For example, here we can see a course about English skills for learning, right? For English language learners. It says that it's got free courses, free content. It gives you an overview about what you can do in this course. You can take the entire course for free. This is just the beginning of learning about open educational resources, and there's lots more available out there. So I hope that you have fun learning and discovering.